Do that a little bit.
All right. Well, let's do the background first, because you're what people would call a gold bug, right?
Well, I don't know if I would say a gold bug, just because gold bugs are super ideological, only have one view and opinion, and are not really open to other thoughts. I've been a global macro portfolio manager, and I've been in the hedge fund business for 25 years, and so have looked at all sorts of different assets, at different periods, and I'm really looking for what I call almost like a step function change type of opportunity. And so, I've been involved with gold on and off since the early 90s. And then in '08, started my own physical gold company with a partner called GBI, Gold Bullion International, which grew from, I guess this is why people might think gold bug, but it grew from basically a presentation, a thought I had in my head, to a company today that has done over 1 million trades, has over 300,000 clients, and we make it easy for people to buy and store physical gold.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm a businessman who's interested in the gold market.
Right. So you have an onboarding and custody service. That's the way I would think of it in the world of Bitcoin. You allow people to buy it and you custody it for them. And
Yeah, I think that's right. We have 7 different vaults where we lease space around the world, and you might be thinking I'm giving you a little more detail here than you need, but I'll.
No, I want it. This is good.
So we have New York and Salt Lake and Zurich and London, and in '08 I was looking around for a place. I wanted to own my own gold outside of the banking system. And, I had traditionally traded a lot with the big counterparties. And I called up, JP Morgan and UBS. They're the 2 really large players. And I said, I wanted to do a few $1 million. And they told me at the time that the minimums were 10 and 20 million. And, 20 million was more than I wanted to allocate. So I started looking around, and there was really nowhere online. There was no platform that I thought was trusted, that wasn't based in some weird place. And they said, wire your money here, and, maybe you have your gold there. And so I said to an ex-partner that I'd started another business with, hey, what do you think about this idea? And, because I'd really like to own it for myself in a secure way in a jurisdiction outside of the US. And anyway, 2 years later, it took us 2 years to build that technology. I mean, it's a platform. And what we do is we plug into other people's distribution systems. So for instance, our largest client and our first client was Merrill Lynch Wealth Management. And what we did was we built a system that plugs into theirs so that, for instance, a financial advisor can, who's sitting there in Ohio, his client calls him up and he says, hey, I want a kilo bar stored in Singapore. And the Merrill advisor calls up his screen, pushes a button, and then that's us. And the next day, that guy in Ohio has got his bar in Singapore. And so it's like I wasn't aware of Bitcoin in '08, but some of the things that motivated my interest in having physical gold the way I wanted it, outside of the system, 100% insured, secured. These are similar things that, they're characteristics of Bitcoin in a way, right? Of why people want to have Bitcoin.
Well, yeah, and also a lot of the Bitcoiners sometimes see it as a Bitcoin versus gold argument, and always trying to say why Bitcoin is better than gold. I actually see it slightly differently. I just see that there are 2 very complementary assets that offer a similar kind of value, but with just different properties.
I think that's right. And in a way, a super intelligent and concise description. I mean, in theory, we could stop the interview right here.
We're done.
That's exactly right. It's funny how resistant people are to just that very simple concept. I think that's right. I mean, each has their own properties. I think I've said somewhere that, Bitcoin is a very big thing. and I think one of the things that Bitcoin is, that comparison to gold. But I think just to be even-handed and to follow up with that comment you just made, there are things that physical gold, there are characteristics of it that Bitcoin can't sort of replicate. And, as an example, physical gold can be, if you want it to be, truly off the grid with no record, no transaction record anywhere. You can also pick it up. So I could buy some physical gold, have it sent to my apartment in London, and then I can go pick it up and walk it around the street to another bank. And basically it's to another bank or vault or wherever. And, with Bitcoin, what we're seeing now, I mean, we just saw how it was helpful in tracking that child pornography ring. This concept I keep going on about, this truth machine. Bitcoin really is a bulletproof ledger that tracks everything. Physical gold is mostly trackable, but, there are people out there who don't want it tracked. It doesn't have to be. So, that's one thing. Another thing is tax implications. Physical gold has different tax implications in all the different jurisdictions.